Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Europa League preview. United in Cyprus facing AC Omonia. And what better way to preview it than with my good friend Joe Smith. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Yeah.
Still reeling slightly from the 6-3 defeat to Manchester. What?
Don't talk about it. It didn't happen. We actually won.
Still feeling great after the 2-0 win against Sheriff.
The 3-2 second half win.
Oh yeah, of
against
course.
Manchester
Yeah, the most
City.
recent result is the 3-2 second half.
Yeah, that's what matters.
We forget the 4-0 first half loss.
That doesn't count.
No,
do you know what I mean?
That's true. I'm feeling good though. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. Got a bit of a cold, but I'm all good. We soldier on. We're going to be getting into it. Make sure you get involved in the chat and the comments. Obviously, Manchester United facing the Cypriot outfit in the Europa League. Now, a hot topic before, during, and after the Manchester derby was Casemiro. Yeah. A lot of people before the game saying, "Oh, when the team was announced, why is he not starting?" A bit of a strange one. Others saying, well, Scott McTominay deserved his place. After the game, almost everyone was saying he should have played. Rio Ferdinand was saying he should have played, I think. Gary Neville, however, was saying he could understand why he didn't. Eric Ten Hag had sort of explained why Scott McTominay has been getting picked ahead of him. Yeah. Since we bought Casemiro, McTominay's been in this rich vein of form. Do you see this game as one where Casemiro starts, comes back into the team, or do you think he may get saved for Everton at the weekend?
I think he probably will come into the game, into the team. But I don't think that even when he came on against City, he was that good. Or he had some really good moments and great tackles and interceptions and then some lovely sort of balls through the lines and stuff. But he gave the ball away a lot. Yeah. He is giving the ball away a lot at the moment, which is typical of a player struggling with the speed of the Premier League, where it just feels like the press is a bit too much for him and he doesn't have the spaces he's expecting, which is obviously comes from, you know, him playing at a slightly differently paced league, because Spain's very quick. But you often get a bit more time on the ball in deep areas, and then there's this sort of flurry of pressing and stress in the centre of the park. Usually when he's picking the ball up on the edge of his own 18-yard box, he's got a second to look up. Whereas against Manchester City in particular, one of the best pressing teams in the world, you just don't have any time anywhere on the pitch. And I think he is being caught out multiple times per game, sloppy passes, giving the ball away, getting tackled in possession. So I don't even necessarily think if he'd have started the game against City, we would have won. I mean, obviously, if I could go back and try it, I would. But, based on how he played in the second half, I don't think he changed it substantially enough that we can say that it was a mistake to not start him. But I do think there is a player in there that is at a level that can be higher than Scott McTominay. So I think we should try to get the best out of him, and bits and bobs in the Europa League, bring him in maybe the slightly sort of more winnable games in the Premier League. That's a good way of doing it. But I just think that this whole thing of like, well, if we just played him, we'd have won. I don't think we would.
No, I think with hindsight, maybe you play with hindsight. If you'd known how Christian Eriksen was going to play, for example, then you would have played Casemiro probably alongside Scott McTominay and perhaps sacrificed Eriksen. But before the game, no one was thinking of doing that. I think we were all thinking that Christian Eriksen could be integral part of any chance Manchester United had to win. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on derby. Get involved in the chat and the comments and let us know what you think about Casemiro. Is he going to start? Should he start? Do you want to see more of him? What have you made of him so far this season? We will get into our predicted 11s a little bit later on. But first of all, you mentioned the derby. We have got to talk about it. How much of an opportunity is this game to bounce back from that defeat? Or does it all, do you have to wait to the next Premier League game? Because, a big win against a team that are very small, if we're being brutally honest, doesn't quite erase a derby day thumping, does it? But it's one step towards moving on. Yeah,
we're in the sort of area of the teams I've never heard of type territory with Omonia, and I think in a minute we'll see, or later on we'll see some of their recent fixtures and who they've played. Name any of the teams that you see on those badges. Right. That's just the nature of the team. But that doesn't mean that you don't get some confidence from beating them.
No.
Or maybe it's even more appropriate to say you wouldn't lose confidence by not beating them.
Yeah.
I think we have to beat them. It's not going to rebuild where we were before City or where we were after we beat Arsenal. But if you don't beat Omonia, then people will start questioning things. Then it's, only 1 win in 3 in the group. Then it's dropping points to this. Then it's how much have they been knocked by that City performance. It's a sort of almost a lose-lose situation where you have to beat them because otherwise it's a disaster. And if you do beat them, you don't really get any credit. But I think that it's almost must win in that sense, because where the confidence would be if we don't beat them, you're almost looking back at that 4-game winning streak and saying, well, was that a bit of a fluke? Because now it's, dropping points in 3 of the last 4 games in all competitions. That's not a good run whatsoever. Whereas if you beat them, we've won 2 of the last 4, we've won, 6 of the last 8 in all competitions. That's pretty good. So you have to beat them.
Do you think this, and I ask you this every time we preview the Europa League, do you think this could be an important competition for Erik ten Hag? Because I was looking at it the other day on the table and I was thinking, there's a chance that United could finish 6th again.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely.
Yeah.
Because you've got City, obviously, streets ahead of everyone. Liverpool are always going to be thereabouts. Chelsea are going to be thereabouts. Spurs are going to be thereabouts. Arsenal are going to be thereabouts.
Yeah.
We've seen Arsenal properly get their act together this season. I know we beat them, but other than that, they've looked pretty good. So there's a chance we finish 6th. It's not beyond the realms of possibility.
We could finish behind all of those teams.
Yeah.
I don't think we will, but we might.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be that mad if we did.
No, and when that happens, then you look at the cup competitions and think, okay, has he done anything in the cup competitions? And this is probably the best chance he's got of winning silverware.
I think it's the best chance he's got of winning silverware, and I think it's probably the most the best stepping stone silverware as well. I think Liverpool won it the year before, got to the final, certainly the year before they got to the Champions League final. They lost to Sevilla, didn't they, in that final, and then lost to Real Madrid the next season. Chelsea won it the year before they won the Champions League. So it's like it's a decent stepping stone. Obviously, United couldn't turn the 2017 win into a Champions League win, but
well, it gets you in the Champions League.
It gets you in the Champions League, first of all, and secondly, I would rather win that than pretty much any other competition that we're in.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not going to win the Premier League, and I think it's neck and neck with the FA Cup for me. This, especially when you had that added incentive of it might be our only way into the Champions League. I think it's a massive competition. Do you?
Yeah, 100%. I said it before the season started. If you're in it, you want to win it.
Yeah.
And I think if we were to win the Europa League, regardless of what happens in the Premier League, I think Erik ten Hag at least has got another season.
Yeah.
People buy into what he's trying to do. You got that Champions League football.
Yeah.
It alleviates a little bit of pressure off him, which is good because I do believe in Erik ten Hag. I just think we have to be realistic about the fact that despite the money we've spent, we have got 5 very good teams in the Premier League this season. I know the Scouts have struggled, but I expect them to get their act together eventually.
Yeah.
And you've got all those
enough
teams
to pick up sort of 70 points or so to get them top 4.
It's not going to be, it's not open and shut that we will finish in that top 4 or that top 5 even. So it'll just be interesting to see what happens. Let's get into Predicts 11. Joe, talk us through your Predicts 11, please.
So we've got slightly rotated team. I think people are always surprised by how little managers rotate in these competitions. Yeah. Even in this game, which is, on paper, the sort of easiest game of the group or the smallest team of the group, I think it will still be a relatively strong squad because, unfortunately, we lost that first game. So now we are playing catch up a little bit in terms of points. And if, like I said before, we can't afford to drop points here. So I've gone De Gea. Doesn't look like Dubravka's going to be fit, and if he is, he's just back in time.
Yeah, he's had injuries.
And Tom Heaton looks like he's not really on the radar in terms of playing any games. So I've stuck with De Gea. Then again, same sort of thing. Wan-Bissaka's not even really on the radar, is he, at the moment?
No, I don't know what's going on there. I thought he would have got some games, and I know he's had like a couple of cameos, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But he's not.
I think we've got a better chance of seeing Malacia at right back than Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
But I've gone with Dalot again. That is our only 2 fit sort of first team experience centre backs in the squad. So I think it has to be Lindelof and Martinez starting. Then Luke Shaw give Malacia a bit of a rest, and then I have put Casemiro in, and I think putting him next to Fred is probably the best way of doing it. I think Eriksen definitely needs a bit of a break because even though he had a break from United, he was playing internationally, wasn't he? Same with McTominay, so get Fred and Casemiro in there. Unfortunately, Fernandes just has to play every week because we haven't really got an alternative to him. And then I have switched out Sancho and Anthony, put in Elanga, Rashford, and brought Ronaldo back in. I would have put Martial back in, but I think we've got a better chance of seeing Martial come on half-time, 60 minutes, and then starting at the weekend.
Yeah.
Because I think in an ideal world, Ten Hag would like to start Martial in the Premier League. I don't think he's trying to find a way to fit Ronaldo in that Premier League team. So play him in the cups.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me, the team that you've picked. And again, it is a predicted 11, but you can understand the thinking behind it. Luke Shaw obviously played the second half against Manchester City. Could be a good opportunity for both him to show us what he's made of a little bit, and Molasses to get an injury. I know it sounds crazy to say shows what he's made of, but to show this season he can be a useful player for Manchester United, because he had a stinker last season, and this season he's not done much better, to be honest with you. Some people giving him a bit of credit for the Derby game in his performance.
Sure.
Yeah, I saw a couple of articles saying, maybe he's started asking a question now. I don't think he did particularly well, especially when he played everyone on side for, was it for Foden's goal?
Yeah.
Fred, I understand where you're coming from with the Fred and Casemiro thing. Obviously, know each other from Brazil, and Fred hasn't really been used, and this could be a game for him. Certainly not from the start anyway. This could be a game for him to come in. Bruno, get that. You need you do need a little bit of experience and someone who could create things, and the front three speaks for itself. We'll move on to my team. It's not that dissimilar. I've gone with Wan-Bissaka just to give Delo a bit of a breather. Although you make a good point about the fact that he's almost becoming like a bit of a forgotten man.
Yeah.
I've put McTominay and Fred in there for one simple reason. I think Casemiro's going to start against Everton. Right. That's why. I think if he starts on Thursday, he doesn't start on Sunday. I think it's one or the other, and I think he'll start in the Premier League. I think now he needs to start in the Premier League. I think this is where you go, okay, he's had a few substitute appearances. I agree with you. He hasn't been great, but you need to start him. Let's start him in these games and give him a chance to have a full 90 minutes and get used to the Premier League properly, because he's not 18, he's 30, and he's had 4 substitute appearances or whatever it is, or 3 substitute appearances. You've brought him in now gradually enough. Now's the time for him to sort of get used to the Premier League the hard way. So playing from the start, and it might even help him a little bit, because he's come into some games, like you look at the Arsenal game, look at the City game, not easy games to come into. No. You're up against it. It's high, like you say, high tempo. So yes, the Premier League's fast, but when you're coming into those types of games anyway, where teams are right in your face, it's not exactly.
Especially those two teams as well, who Arsenal playing that sort of pressing, sort of Guardiola copy and paste or thereabouts football.
100%.
And then Guardiola himself. It's a tough.
The top two aren't they in a minute in the Premier League for a reason. Yeah. Bruno. Same reason as you. I've gone with Elanga, Ronaldo and Sancho. Again, half an eye on the Everton game. I think Ronaldo starts this. I don't think he's going to feature much in the Premier League. Jadon Sancho was one where I was a little bit like, I wonder whether Jadon Sancho might get dropped for the Everton game. I do. I just... He keeps getting subbed after the hour, like constantly.
Happens all the time. It happened last season as well.
Yeah, and I think maybe Eric Ten Hag's looking at him going, I can't rely on him for the full game. Yes, he scored a couple of goals and he's having an okay season. He's been a little bit patchy. I just wonder whether, A, you can rely on him in a game like this because the oppositions should be, relatively weak for him, and B, whether he brings the likes of Martial, Marcus Rashford and Anthony in for the Everton game. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think of my Joe's team. Do you agree with him? Do you think that Eric Ten Hag will pick a similar team, or do you disagree? Let us know what you think. Should we talk about the opposition?
Yes.
You've got some stats there, haven't you?
Yes, we've got some stats. Neil Lennon.
Of Celtic
manager.
fame.
Yeah. Interesting career path, that, isn't it?
Didn't he end up at Bolton as well, didn't he, Neil Lennon? I remember when I used to cover Bolton when I was a reporter. I think he was a manager there for a little while. And he was one of those managers that won, I think he won the treble or whatever at Celtic, and then went to Bolton and got sacked.
Yeah.
It was that sort of thing. 4th in the Cypriot First Division.
Not bad.
Interesting.
Not bad. They've won 21 national championships.
Oh, one more than us.
Yeah, what's that about?
Stop showing off. Yeah. Pathetic.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Never been in the 2nd division. Never been relegated.
Unlike us. 1974. Bloody hell.
You said it was one of the best seasons you ever watched United, though, wasn't it?
It was up there with the 1948 season.
We loved that
when we
season.
won the FA Cup. That was quality.
Great.
Hey.
And they play at the GSP Stadium, which holds just under 23,000.
Hey.
Well, I know all this off by heart, Jay.
You do. He's always been going on about Ammonia.
The George St.
AC Omonia.
Stadium.
Ever since I've met him, he just keeps going on about him. Listen,
are you worried about him?
No. I'm not. I agree with one thing you said. Ever.
But that they do play in a 23,000
that they have won 21
stadium.
titles. I checked it. No, that it is a bit of a lose-lose. Because you could beat these 6-0 and people go, okay, well done. You've beaten the 4th best team in Cyprus.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you lose, obviously it's horrible. If you draw, it's horrible. Yeah. Even if you win 1-0, people still question you.
Speaking of Bolton, do you know that 4-0 win they've got over that second to last team there? Their badge has a hint of the Boltons to it. If you sort of squint your eyes a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is, but they beat him 4-0. And I bet Neil Lennon was absolutely chuffed to buggery, wasn't he? Because if you squint, it looks a bit like Bolton's badge.
He's thinking in his head, he said,
we've
just beaten Bolton. Hey,
and they're going, no, it's not Bolton, it's... Havos.
Nice. Anyway, let's move on from this nonsense.
Absolute rubbish.
Let's talk about score predictions.
Yeah.
You've put your cards on the table. You've said that this is a lose-lose. So I expect, you to be predicting an emphatic win for Manchester United, or maybe not.
I still think we struggle to perform at our top gear for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll be massively emphatic. I think we'll see a 3-0.
Oh.
And I think the first 20 minutes you go, we look a bit shit tonight. And then you
Yeah.
go, well, I suppose we have rotated some players and then we'll score one. And then we'll get one just for half time. And then the second half will be boring and we'll just get one late on. 3-0. What do you think?
I'll probably get egg on my face here.
10.
No.
10-0. Oh.
Excuse me.
Not egg on your face. You've got a bit of phlegm on your face there from that.
I'll go with 5-0.
30-0.
Yeah, I'll go with 5-0. I think Eric Ten Hag's going to read him the right out, and whoever he sends out there, he'll expect a performance with him to sort of, get a bit of pride back after that abject performance at the Etihad. So, yeah, I'm going to go for 5-0. I'm probably wrong because, it's just the way it is. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know your score predictions.
Did you consider going to this game? Because Cyprus is one of the sort of typically hotter countries in Europe. So if you wanted a bit of sort of autumn sun, it would have been a decent one.
Yeah, I mean, Mum and Dad are over there, and they were going to go. I don't think they're going now. I think they're watching it in a bar. So I was tempted to go over there and just try and get a ticket and whatnot, and a couple of lads that are over there as well. But mean aways are a rarity.
You've
nowadays.
been to Cyprus before?
Yeah, my mate got married in Limassol in 2008. And then we drove one night to Iron Apple as well. So I bumped into someone I knew who had a car over there. So we...
Wait, you got a car?
No, I knew her, and she was like working over there. So we drove to borrow her car. Well, she came with us. A load of us drove that to Iron Apple for the night.
Got bladdered?
I didn't drink, but yeah, it was, it was all right. Happy days, eh? So I've been to Iron Apple.
Iron Apple's still recovering from that night.
Yeah, nice. Hey, me drinking all that water. Right, on that bombshell, we'll move on. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Go and check out Mr. Joe Smith alongside his trusty sidekicks, Mr. Joe McGrath and Mr. Ethan
And you
James.
this week.
And me this week as well on the Sloppy Joe's podcast. Check them out. There's a link in the description. Make sure as well you are subscribing to the channel. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Not the season, the year. And with your support, we can do it. This has been the Europa League preview with Joe Smith, Jay Moy. Thanks for watching.